I think the best way to get out of it is to listen to something else. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Suga Crave Show. Yeah, thank you guys so much for showing the support and liking the videos. I appreciate it so much. Today's episode, I want to talk about how to beat writer's block, because I feel like that happens fairly often after you finish like creating a massive project. At least for me, like when I just put so much energy into one song, so once I bounce to another, I tend to fall into like a less creative mode, meaning that one project took so much energy out of like the mixing process. We're talking more about like creative. Not saying mixing you can't be creative, but creating the drums and the bass and synths and all that around, and then you try to move on from that. You're just like, fuck, you almost start recreating the song that you made prior. You're like, oh man, that was such a good song. Let me see if I can make something alternative. And for me, that's when I hit a writer's block. And it took me a while to figure out strategies of how to overcome that. One thing for me was to get back into listening to music, different types of music. So for instance, if I was making a pop track, I would start listening to rock, metal, something like almost the total opposite, the different feeling, emotion from it, and get inspired by those sounds. Because when you're so stuck into making one type of genre or style, I think the best way to get out of it is to listen to something else. Get inspired by the different sounds, the different, like, at least for if we're going for like pop and metal, like just the sounds of the guitars, and just the drums, how like massive they are, how hard they hit. And for me, I like the drums cymbals, just like how different, so many different tones of cymbals, and they feel like shims around you, or just like that chime around you. And that's one way I tend to go to first when trying to get out of a writer's block. Another one is it's a big one for me, is recreating tracks from different songs. Like, let's say you really like the drums in like a Calvin Harris song. You're like, man, I really love that he puts like that funkness to it. So what I'll do is I'll try my best to recreate that drum pattern, and I'll outline the song. So I'll put like markers in Ableton. You can put markers, and so I'll put like the intro, pre-intro, and all that stuff. So I'll lay out the whole track, recreate the drums, and then throw in a different chord progression and different sounds and stuff like that, or just recreate the song in general. When I was trying to get better at sound designing, one of my mentors was like, the best way to do that is recreate the sound, figure out, troubleshoot it, and see how that person made it, or like do your best as you can. And it was like such a like eye-opening experience because I really got to figure out what shapes of, from like oscillators, from like a sawtooth to a sine wave, how like those two sound separately or together and can create certain type of sounds. And so when you hear a certain sound, you're like, oh, that sounds a little bit more of a sawtooth, or oh, that's a little bit more round, so that sounds like a sine wave. So that one was such a great tip for writer's block, because it got me inspired to learn how to recreate the exact same recreate the whole track in general. And you see that it's big on YouTube right now, like how to make a Dua Lipa's track, or how to make a Skrillex bass growl, and those guys have spent hours and hours and fucking years of recreating so many different sounds that you're like, oh, I know exactly how to recreate that. And to me, that was like the best experience for as a producer to grow better at like creating sounds from scratch, or saving that type of sound. Like, let's say you're working with an artist and they're like, hey, I'm kind of looking for like a funk, kind of like a Calvin Harris bass style. You're like, boom, I already got it, because I recreated that song way back. I already have it saved, and it fits well in this track. So your production style just goes fast and faster and faster because you already have weapons on you. And I think that can help so much when it comes to writer's block, is that speed of production. And that helps me a lot when I'm not having to think so much about what I need to put into this track. I can just, boom, I got the kick, I got that clap, I got the hi-hat, boom, boom, boom. I got templates that I'm like, all right, I got a house template, boom. I already got like presets that are already installed into the groups. Like I'm just, boom, banging away. I'm just, the hardest part is I'm not really struggling for the sound. I'm struggling what kind of chord progression I want to go towards. And so that's my that's the way that I beat writer's block, is that the time where I don't have to think as much. And I think that helps tremendously, is just not having to overthink a lot of stuff. I love Kenny Beats when he does in the cave with different artists. It's just like his neon signs is like, don't overthink shit. And I agree 1,000%. Don't overthink it, because then you're gonna be stuck. You're gonna be fighting and trying to figure out, okay, what's the best strategy for this song, because I just have so many thoughts on this. And you can make different versions of that particular song as well. You could be like, this is a little bit harder, this is a little bit softer, this is more in the middle. And so I'll tend to do that as well, make different versions of that song, even taking breaks from that song and then come back weeks later or months later or sometimes years later and picking up, because you have a fresh new mindset. Sometimes I feel like we get stuck in our ways when we're in that track for long periods of time. You're just like, man, I'm trying to make it sound a certain way and I just can't compute it. I just can't. And that's what helps also, which is my next one, is collaborating. I think collaborating helps so much when it comes to writer's block, because you have a different person. Of course you have a different person, but you have a different viewpoint other than your own. And they can also help you agree with certain things. They're like, for instance, if you're like, oh, man, I don't know about this kick. And they're like, no, this kick is good, man. Don't worry about that kick. What you need to work on is that fucking bass. But like, you know what I mean? Like that collaboration of when you're second guessing yourself, someone else confirm or Oh yeah, it will confirm that it's good or bad. Be like, hey, doesn't work. Maybe we should try something else. Or hey, you're good. This is good. Let's move on. Like that speed. Or you can be in the middle. Be like, hey, I like this kick. Maybe we throw something underneath it. Give a little snap to it. So I love collaboration as well. That helps tremendously when you're stuck in a bind for a particular song. And it's hard because a lot of us producers, we start alone. At least with the EDM world, it's like very lonely because you're just like, you're depending on the where you are around the world, where you feel like you don't have the resources around you, which you do. You mean sometimes we're just like, we're stuck in the cave. We're stuck in our studio that we just don't really go out much. Like, I think the best thing to do is go to open mics, go to production meetups. I mean, you can go to, what's that? Meetup.com, where they have like producer meetups or events, networking events, and, open mics. You just go there and, connect with somebody, and then there you go. You have your collaboration. Even if you live in a small town, there's got to be a handful of people that are in that like music, or someone that's curious in music, but they're just not wanting to fully commit till they meet someone like you that's like so into it. Like that's a way to connect with people. And so, going back to the different lists. So number one, listen to music. I think listening to music helps so much of getting inspired. Number two, recreating tracks from other songs. It's huge. It's probably one of my top ones that I love doing. If I'm really, really stuck on a song, I'll just recreate another song and just go from there. And then three, collaboration. I think collaboration is huge when it comes to writer's block, because you're working with a different opinion, different mindset, different viewpoint other than your own. Because I feel like we get just caught up on our own stuff, and I think that slows us tremendously down when it comes to progression of a track. And number four, I think it's underestimated, is changing your environment. Even if, let's say you're like, dude, I can't move. What the fuck are you talking about? Like that? What do you mean? Like me going from a small town Mississippi and going to LA? That's nuts. It's unfeasible. I don't mean anything like that. It could be rearranging your studio setup, maybe adding more plants in it, maybe adding more lights, maybe adding different smells. Like there's so many things you can do to change your environment without, killing the bank. And that's just a couple of things. I mean, you can grab your laptop and go to the park. I used to do that so many times when it was the pandemic. I was so like, I would get cabin fever, and I was just so miserable being in my apartment that I was getting these depression funks. And what I started doing, it was like, okay, fuck it. If I can't be creative in my apartment or in my environment, I'm gonna go to the park. The park wasn't too far away, and I would just sit there and just create probably one of the best creative sessions I've had when it comes to like sound design and drums and different, little tracks that I would make, because the environment inspired me. Especially being in the park, you just have that fresh air. Luckily I live in Southern California, so that sunshine would just help tremendously. I think that's so needed for us. We need to not be stuck in these dark rooms, man. For me, I hated it being like in a, I love studios just in the historical aspect of the, smell of like the old outboard gear, the dust and all that stuff, the console. But having windows and sunlight just changes tremendously. Getting that vitamin D, and it just, that is that can change tremendously. For me, I started adding plants. I started adding, as you can see behind me, like records, books. So whenever I had downtime, I would just like pick up a book and just read a little bit, get a little bit inspired by other creatives, other inspiring people, and then that like would trigger something, and I would just start going, listening to records, and getting inspired by that. But like that creativeness being surrounded around me helped tremendously when it came defeating writer's block. And these are just little things, There's some people that just, they'll get an Airbnb and just do like these like crazy producer camps, and they're just like, all right, let's get a fucking mansion, and let's all just like work for like a week straight. Those are cool, but you don't have to go that crazy. You could just, you can meet up with a friend's house and be like, hey dude, I got funk. You ready to make some shit? And like, yeah, cool, bring your shit. And it's you're in a different environment than your own. So sometimes for me, if I'm being less creative, and it's, nothing's really inspiring me, like for me to recreate another song, I'm just not feeling that way, and I can tell it's the environment, then I'll just, I'll go to a studio, or I'll go to the park, or I'll go to a coffee shop. Simple things like that can trigger amazing results when it comes to defeating writer's block. Hey guys, ever wonder where I record my videos or podcasts? Most of the time, it's at Design Sound Studio. It's about 3,000 square feet with a full lighting rig. No need to spend thousands of dollars for lighting rentals. We got it all set up for you guys. And we even have 2 flex rooms that could be used as makeup rooms, dressing rooms, or even a production office. I'm telling you guys, it's a perfect spot if you guys want something private without being interrupted by a noisy drummer next door. Our space is just gonna make your production rehearsals run so smoothly. And the best part is we're open 24 hours, 7 days a week. So if you're ready to book your session, head over to designsoundstudio.com and get a quote from us today. Figure out how to overcome your own writer's block. See what you tend to, what tends to happen when that occurs to you. Sometimes when I'm on my phone too much, I'll move my phone away from the studio. I'll leave it downstairs, or I'll leave it in my pocket and not touch it till I'm done with a specific part of a song. Like make it a goal, but like, hey, if you want to be on Instagram, you gotta complete this drum loop in the drop. And so setting goals like that, there's another one right there. To be like, do something simple, like, and reward yourself. Let me finish this certain part of the song, then I'll reward myself with X. So, it's a good one if you need motivation to get through certain parts. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it because now you're always seeking for that reward. But if it gets you to that position, then who fucking cares? At least you got to that point. You got the results that you wanted. So if it worked, it worked. But what are you gonna do when you don't reward yourself? Where do you get to that point? So for me, I don't rely as that much, but I do like the time frame. So I'll set myself like a time clock, like an hour. I'm like, all right, an hour, I need to get X, Y, and Z done. And then once an hour comes up, that's it. I just have to be content to where the results are and move forward. And so that's helped me tremendously when it comes to moving forward in a song, and putting that pressure. Some people work better with pressure than just being loose about certain things. And for me, I like that pressure. I like that, like, hey, you got like 2 hours to finish this fucking song. If you don't finish it, that's it. That you're gonna stay put, or you're not gonna release it. Which one you're gonna do? So try different things. See what other creatives do. Talk to your music, talk to your producer homies, talk to your songwriters. For me, I always love talking to songwriters, how they defeat writer's block, because I think their job is as hard or even difficult than a producer. I don't know. Just words, how to lay out words in a genuine and catchy and emotional way is just so out of space for me. And just because I don't write, I don't sing. I can't sing for shit. But something like that, I'm always so curious about their process and see if I can take those tips and use them in my own production. That's where I got from, like, the production outline and listen to music and getting inspired. I was in a session where they were just pumping up music, just like somewhat similar music that they were trying to produce, and I was just like, oh, that's kind of smart. You kind of build that environment. So not saying you're copying their style, but you're kind of setting the tone. That's why when you hear about singers wanting the booths to be dark, but they want this specific candle, I'm like, people would give them shit about it. Be like, oh, they're so prima donna, and they want a specific smell, they want a specific way. Well, yeah, because that's going to give them the best performance of that. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. As you a producer, you got to get the best performance out of your singer, and if that's what they want, that's what you got to give them. That's your role as a producer. And so for me, I hate when people are just like, oh, that's so, like, so diva-ish, or they're a pain in the ass, or it's like, that's what you wonder why that performance is so well, because that's what it takes. People don't understand what it takes sometimes behind the scenes to get such a great performance, and sometimes it costs a lot, or it takes a lot of effort, but that's what differentiates. That's what it takes. Oh my fucking Einstein here using long words, but it takes that effort to create something great, and to me, it's worth it. It's worth it if those are the results at the end of the day. But yeah, guys, that's just a few. I wanted to make it a good, quick, Monday morning podcast of just kind of getting you guys going for the week. If you're fighting creating, the urge of creating songs, and you're just having this writer's block, because I've been there many times. So hopefully I inspired you guys to, try some of those tips and tools, and trying to get over it, because, there's so much music out there needing to be released, but a lot of us are just, we're struggling to find that inspiration. So hopefully that helped. I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support, and make sure to sign up for the Suga Crave Club. You'll get this podcast and other podcasts and sample templates and all that stuff in there to help with writer's block. And it's just a great creative group, and we just kind of get together and just help each other out being like a little community. So yeah, whenever, be sure to sign up there. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I just want to say thank you so much for the support, and then hopefully I'll see you guys in the next episode.